Okay, so good day everyone. I hope you're all doing great today. So, before I begin my discussion, first I would like to call someone to have a prayer with us, no? Okay, so I think thank you for the prayer and then before I begin my discussion, first let's have an icebreaker. So my icebreaker is a wheel which wherein there is a corresponding number wherein in every number there is a riddle wherein you need to answer. So I will call someone to rotate the wheel and answer the riddles on it. So may begin. Let's begin the icebreaker.
Go.
Okay. Okay, so the riddle to that is I promise payment on paper but return empty-handed. 5 days to fix me or face penalties demanded. So what am I? I think no one got the correct answer, but the answer to that is bouncing check. So with that riddle, can you guess what would be our topic for today? So I think that's right, no? So our topic for today is all about anti-bouncing check law. Okay, no? So uh, after having those as icebreaker, you've noticed that what we are going to discuss today is all about the anti-bouncing check law. So Uh, before we proceed to this topic, I would like to give you a brief summary on what we're going to talk about on this lesson. So we are going to discuss the difference between the bouncing check law and stale check and how this anti-bouncing check law uh, protect you from fraudulent activities. So yun lang, no? So now, the as for the objectives of this lesson is for you to define what is anti-bouncing check law and its importance against fraudulent transaction. Next is to analyze real-life scenarios to determine potential violations of the law and propose appropriate legal actions or remedies. And lastly, to demonstrate appreciation for the importance of honesty and accountability in financial transaction. Okay, so before that, now who can tell me what is stale check? No? So tama nga, no? So stale check is a check not in cash within 6 months. So for example, si debtor, which is yung may utang, tapos si creditor, yung pinagkakautangan. For example, si debtor is nag-issue siya ng check kay creditor, tapos si creditor is hindi niya gi-encash yung check-in na yon within 6 months. So therefore, the check is not allowed or cannot be encash anymore if umabot ng 6 months na hindi na encash. So therefore, yun yung tinatawag na stale check. So sa bouncing check naman is according to its definition, it is a check that can't be processed because the account holder has no sufficient fund available for payment. So in this case, for example, si debtor is nag-issue siya ng check na ipambabayad sana kay creditor tapos yung check na yon is walang laman or kulang yung laman ng check na yon. So ang mangyari kasi is, for example, si debtor issued a check to the creditor and then si creditor ang gagawin na is i-encash yun. Pupunta siya kay bank to encash the check and then gagawin ni bank if it determines na kulang pala or walang laman yung check is ibabalik yung cheque. So yun yung tinatawag na bouncing check. So for you to be able to grasp or to effectively understand these two is let's take a look on its difference, no? So sa stale check is the in default is the creditor since uh si debtor, nagbigay siya ng check pero ang may kasalanan si creditor kasi nga he did not encash the check within 6 months. So that is a negligence on the part of the creditor. So while sa bouncing check is the in default is the debtor since in the first place the debtor issued a check that cannot be in cash since nga yun na nga kulang or walang laman ng cheque. So there's no way for the creditor to encash the check. So I hope that's clear, no? So next is let's proceed on the main topic, which is the anti-bouncing check law. So also known as Batas Pambansa Bilang 22. So as for the general rule under Batas Pambansa Bilang 22 holds that any person who makes, draws, or issues a worthless check is liable even if they are merely an accommodation party. So if ever daw, kung sino man yung mag-issue or magsulat ng cheque na walang laman or kulang yung laman is magiging liable under Batas Pambansa Bilang 22 or Anti-Bouncing Check Law. So kahit accommodation party na yan. So what does it mean with the accommodation party is a third party or third person. So for you to be able to understand the concept of this anti-bouncing check law, I will provide an illustration so you could picture out what this law is trying to point out, no? So now here's our sample illustration for you to understand the concept of anti-bouncing check law. So before I begin, I would like to emphasize here that the anti-bouncing check law is only applicable to an account or value, or should I say mga utang, mga accounts payable, doon lang po applicable yung anti-bouncing check law. So let's say for example here that Juhanisa has an obligation to Arid. So may utang si Juanisa to Arid or has an obligation to pay a certain amount of money. So on January 1, on January 1, Juanisa uh, wrote a check. So ang tawag kay Juanisa since siya yung nag sulat or gumawa ng check is a drawer. So Juanisa drew a check with an amount of 50,000. So, binigay na yon kay Arid, which is Arid is the creditor or yung pinagkakautangan ni Juanisa. So, ang gagawin ni Arid after niya ma-receive yung 50,000 na check galing kay Juanisa is pupunta si Arid sa bank. Why? To encash the check. So, i-encash na yung check. Tapos, ang gagawin ni bank, syempre, iti-check ni bank yung check na yon. So, what if, let's say, for example, the bank found out that the check was NSF or kumbaga, no sufficient fund or kulang yung laman ng cheque or walang laman. So, ang gagawin ni bank is ibabalik yung cheque na yon kay Arid. So, ibabalik niya kasi nga hindi pwedeng i-encash yung cheque na wala namang laman yung bank account na pagkukunan ng pera or kulang yung laman ng bank account. So, kasama nung ibabalik ni bank ito, yung stamp in plain language of reason of refusal. So, ang mangyayari after this one, after the bank has returned the check to Arid, ang mangyayari is Juhanisa will be given a period of 90 days to solve the issue. So bibigyan si Juanisa ng 90 days to solve the issue. So now the question is, what will happen if Juanisa did not solve the issue within 90 days? So what will happen is that the check will be dishonored. So kumbaga the check mawawala ng effect yung check or the check would become invalid or could not, there's no way for the check to be in cash anymore. So now the question is that is it already a violation under anti-bouncing check law? So, the answer to that is no, is not. It is still not a violation under the bouncing check law. Since ang mangyari kasi, pag magkaroon ng dishonor, is like parang uh, bibigyan lang ng notice si Juanisa na uh, about with regards to this dishonor. Tapos after that, after siyang mabigyan ng notice, is like bibigyan siya ng 5 banking days to solve the issue. So, how? So, it could be by personally or by mail. So, bibigyan si Juanisa ng itong tatlo. Registry of return cards, copy of demand letter, registry receipt. So, dapat authenticated yung mga documents na yan. So, from the moment na ma-receive ni Juanisa itong tatlo na to, after the check has been dishonored, so yun na nga, bibigyan si Junisa ng 5 banking days to comply uh, within this specified period of time. So dapat within 5 banking days, malagyan na niya ng pera yung bank account. So why is it 5 banking days? Kasi nga, hindi kasali yung weekend. So from Monday to Thursday. So yun, Monday. I mean Friday. So o why is it kailangan na authenticated yung mga uh, itong tatlo na marireceive ni Juanisa? Since if it's not authenticated, these three, then it is as if Juanisa did not receive any notice. So, for example, if na-receive ito ni Juanisa, itong tatlo na to, and then hindi siya nag-comply sa 5 banking days, then she will be subject for violation under anti-bouncing check law. So if ever man na na-receive niya to, tapos hindi siya nag-comply sa 5 banking days, pero the documents that she received is not authenticated, then as if she did not receive anything, therefore she will not be subject for violation under anti-bouncing check law. So that is why it should be authenticated. Okay, next. So let's say what if from the time when Juanisa issued a check to Arid, so like syempre kumuha sila ng let's say uh, third person, yung tinatawag natin accommodation party. So let's say kumuha sila ng third person para kumbaga maging guarantor sa i-issue ni Juanisa na cheque. So, ang mangyari, if ever man na Juanisa will be subject for violation under anti-bouncing check law, then this accommodation party or yung nag-guarantor will be liable also for the damages. So, yun. So, how about let's provide another illustration, no? So another example. Let's say, yun na nga, nag-draw ng check or sumulat ng check si Juanisa, a 50,000 check to Arid, and then Juanisa informed Arid that the check is wala pang laman pero lalagyan lang ni Juanisa. Tapos, if ever that the check is not hindi nalagyan yung ng pera yung cheque within 90 days, then the check will be presumed NSF within 90 days. So, yun. After the 90 days, again, the check will be subject for dishonored tapos bibigyan ulit ng 5 banking days si Juanisa to solve the issue. So, if ever man na Juanisa did not solve the issue within 5 banking days, then uh, she will be subject for violation under anti-bouncing check law. But if he makes a payment within 5 banking days, then walang problema. Hindi magkakaproblema, no? So, what are the possible remedies that ARID could do if ever that Juanisa did not comply with the specified period of time even if the 5 banking days hindi nagbayad si Juanisa. So what ARID could do is to file a complaint for violation of Batas Pambansa bilang 22. So under the law, Arid would be given a 4 years from the time the check has have been dishonored to file the case. So after 4 years, if hindi pa rin nag-file si Arid, so the check will be expired or would no longer be able to file the case. So what if yun na nga, Arid file the case within 4 years. So what could be the possible uh, penalties na haharapin ni Juanisa if found guilty? So first is imprisonment. Ito, imprisonment of at least 30 days but not more than 1 year. Next naman is fine at least double the amount but not exceeding 200,000. So ang amount natin dito is 50,000. So therefore, double the amount. So 100,000. So hindi naman exceeding 200,000. So pwedeng i-fine sa kanya is 100,000 or both imprisonment or a fine. So I would just like to uh, clarify what is the difference between estafa and the anti-bouncing check law. So sa anti-bouncing check law is you issue a check na walang laman but still you have the intention na lagyan lang yung pera na yung bank account mo ng pera. But in estafa is in the first place you issued a check with the intention to fraud someone or like nag-issue ka ng cheque na walang laman pero you have no intention na lagyan talaga. So like balak mo talagang manloko. So that is what we call estafa and that's the difference between the bouncing check, no? So I think that would be all since this topic is maliit lang siya and I hope you learned something from me and that's all. Thank you.